Mr. Benifei. He's a representative of European Parliament. He will tell us about what will be the support for realization of these innovations. Thank you.
Good morning to all of you, dear excellencies, dear guests. I would like to particularly thank the Latvian presidency for this remarkable initiative. I very much appreciate the efforts of the Latvian presidency to insert this meeting in the framework of multiple initiatives on disability issues. It was time for the European Union to mainstream this topic, running, as they say, their extra mile. Hoping this commitment will be renovated by the next presidencies, I'm very honored to have the chance to take the floor today as Vice President of the Disability Intergroup of the European Parliament, and I also want to thank my, as was said by the Commission representative, my colleague and also Vice President of the group, Marek Plura, who is here, and it's a very committed colleague on the topics. Result of this high-level meeting constitute an important step forward towards a sincere and effective implementation of the UN Convention on Rights of the People with Disabilities, already mentioned by the representative of the Commission, in all member states, in order to ensure all people with disabilities a full enjoyment of their fundamental rights and high levels of dignity alongside with equal participation in their community's life. I think it's always important to focus particularly on mainstream education and employment, discussing human rights model-based solutions targeted at promoting inclusive and successful systems across the EU. The only way to guarantee and promote an inclusive society, which is a strong EU value indeed. It is not necessary at this stage to raise attention to the enormous additional obstacles and risks people with disabilities and children and women among them in particular face nowadays, because I know that colleagues and guests here already know the controversial, often incoherent and fragmented reality across EU countries and regions, where policies suffer from lack of funding in the best scenario and also from an inadequate and ignorant approach in the worst cases. So also the disability card that has been mentioned is a very important project that we are supporting and pushing for. I would like to focus for a moment on the CRPD, as the convention represents the milestone for the paradigm shift we were looking for. This leads me to take in consideration, first of all, the list of issues to the European Union published by the UN Committee on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities on April the 17th as an intermediate step before the release of the recommendations in September, and in particular the points related to Articles 24 and 27 of the Convention. To summarize, we are asked to provide proof of concrete steps taken to promote, protect and ensure the rights of people with disabilities, respectively in the fields of education and employment, for example, by focusing on eventual specific targets within the Europe 2020 strategy and by demonstrating an adequate level of invested EU resources, structural funds and European Social Fund. At the same time, developing new methods of data collection and of involvement of people with disabilities representatives in policymaking. Even if not concluded, this stage of the process must be considered as a strong invitation to multiply our efforts and our commitment to look for smarter and innovative policies that can complement national and local strategies and enhance EU funds potential across the EU. Some tools at our disposal have been already highlighted also in the conference. Mid-term revision of the European Disability Strategy, call for the unlock of a CRPD fully compliant equal treatment directive, call for strategies of e-inclusion also in the framework of the European Strategy for a Digital Single Market, just launched by the Commission, inclusive vocational training schemes, as already mentioned from the colleague from the Parliament. The European semester will be a fundamental testing ground to check at the European level if the paradigm shift towards a human rights approach has been effectively understood and pursued. We need to ask for more balanced priorities in line with the goal of reducing poverty and social exclusion, also in the framework of the review of the Europe 2020 strategy. The same goal needs to be pursued in the framework of the EFSI funds. An European plan for growth must in fact address the challenge of achieving economic recovery with promoting social inclusion, solidarity and cohesion. No one should be left behind. Also, the youth guarantee embedded in the Youth Employment Initiative could be used in a more efficient way for inclusion of young people with disabilities. On this, the Member States' commitment is crucial. It's upon us now to maintain our stance and work for the necessary changes. Dear guests, let me conclude by underlining that we as members of the European Parliament in the Disability Intergroup will not quit our responsibility to act as watchdog in the next years. We will, au contraire, carry on with our fight to raise awareness on disability-related issues and promote equal rights for all. The necessary fiscal consolidation and structural reforms cannot be obtained in the expense of adequate spending for these policies. The founding fathers of the European Union, when they outlined the future integration, they proposed a union of solidarity built on the ruins of the Second World War. We must not forget this aspiration. We must continue working for a real inclusive European Union. Thank you.